it can be catastrophic and devastating to one person, but a joyous, beautiful transition to another person, then was it ever either? No. Welcome back to One's journey of unwinding the mind and, of course, your daily microdose. Now, tune in to the latest episode of One's journey. Today, I want to talk about constructs. Constructs drive me up the wall. And the more and more I pay attention, the more and more I see constructs and how much they tend to operate our life from the background. So constructs, essentially, my definition, not the Webster's definition, is when we take a subjective idea or action or whatever, and we create structure for it, because us sitting in the ego need definition. Remember, the ego complicates things. It makes it chaotic. The Holy Spirit in our highest self, it just is. There doesn't need to be this elaborate definition, and it doesn't judge. The ego uses constructs to judge, to create hierarchy of you're at this place, I'm at this place, this person is so much better, blah, blah, blah. And there are so many constructs. I've covered already in past videos resilience, but today the big construct I see coming up a lot is life is meant to be hard. That hardships must occur in order for you to grow and learn. And that to me used to be a huge construct I lived by because I went through a lot of things in my life, and I think a lot of us do. But I don't think that's the reality because hardships, life being hard, is a perception. Because you could go through, say, a divorce and say it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing that happened to you. It was easy, whatever. And I could go through a divorce and be like, that was catastrophic. That was devastating. It almost ruined me, blah, blah, blah. So if it can be catastrophic and devastating to one person, but a joyous, beautiful transition to another person, then was it ever either? No. So when we look at something and we say it's a hardship, it's based on our perception. So when we have someone who says they've never been through any hardships in their life, our immediate reaction is they're a sociopath. They're not empathetic. They don't have emotions, because how possibly could someone have experienced an entire life without being hurt? That is because of the construct that life is meant to be hard. So if you don't present that your life was hard, then you're an alien of some sort. You don't belong here. You aren't living the actual human experience, because the construct is the human experience needs to be hard in order for you to grow. I think it also goes into like the spiritual journey or our age. We believe if you haven't experienced so many things in your life that are hard, that you've made it through, then you're not legit. Then you are unworthy of sharing your expertise with others because you don't have any expertise, because you haven't actually experienced life, because it goes into the duality piece. That construct is a duality, like definition at its finest, because if you've only experienced one side of life, which is the beauty and the highs and everything's great, in order to really experience life, then you must also experience the duality of the lows and the hard points. But what if that's not the case? What if at an early age you're raised by parents that assist you in understanding perspective and understanding that you can view anything as a hardship or as it just is. It was just a part of my journey in order for me to get to the next space. Does that mean you experienced any less than me? No, it means that your perception of it was different. And if we think about the journey we're on here in Big Miracle Energy, we are untying ourselves from that place of fear and hardship and pain and suffering and separation and attempting to get to a constant state of love, and it just is. Then wouldn't it be a huge blessing if we've always had that? Interesting. I'm actually thinking about this out loud as I speak to you, that the hardships we feel are what got us here. But what about the people that have always been here, but they never went through hardships? So like the dark night of the soul, I'm not saying it doesn't happen to people and it's not a part of journeys, people's journeys, but in the spiritual world, we've also gone to the construct of you must go through a dark night of the soul in order to obtain higher level consciousness and everything else. Again, that's reiterating the construct that life is hard, that life is meant to be a struggle, and you are meant to move through these struggles in order to get to a place. But we also know that form doesn't matter. The effect doesn't matter. It's what's going on at the cause. So if that's the case, then I could also, on the flip side, have what appears to be a very easy life to other people that didn't contain hardships, but I experienced it as hardships. So again, how can we say that life is meant to be hard when it is a subjective statement? And I did a video a while back on the Kardashians about this, and I said, if that's the case, that we say life is meant to be hard, then aren't we just projecting hardships all the time because we don't feel adequate or we don't feel worthy unless we actually experience hardships? But that's not true. And we know that because we are literally seeking a life of not that. We are literally doing the work to be there. But when we place a construct on it, it's just a judgment. And that's what we're also trying to step away from, is judgment of even saying something is or is not a hardship, because it just is, and we know that. It's a part of the journey. It's not meant to be judged. It's not meant to be created into hierarchy of your life was harder than my life, but I know that happens a lot, especially in like the one-up game or, the personal development or the spirituality movement. We tend to resonate with the people that have been through the hardest of things and believe that their answers to get out of it are the best because they've experienced the worst. But it doesn't make it any different than the person that has advice to give you that never experienced any hardships at all. Actually, I think the person who has never experienced any hardships at all might be the best person for you to be asking, because they have mastered the art of perception. Because we all go through things in life that can have the view of hardship. It just depends on your perception. I want you to pay attention to when this construct is starting to come up, because we also use it as an excuse. That when we view something as hard, we dismiss that it was our perception of it by saying life is meant to be hard. So where in your life have you still not shifted your perspective of the situation, and instead are using the excuse that life is meant to be hard? This was a part of my journey. I had to go through the darkness to get to this light. Because if we're really shifting ourselves to a place of love from fear, we will be able to look at those events in our lives and they do not carry that weight anymore. They really are a just is event. I mean, I used to look at my childhood and my father's suicide and my divorce and all these things as like the hardest things in the world. Why did I go through this hard? I went through this hard because I have to share with other people. But I'm really to a point now that, yes, when I share it, I allow people to have that judgment of it was hard, but I don't carry that judgment anymore. It just was. It was just a part of my journey. So essentially, I've released the weight. But if I still look at it as it was something hard, it still carries weight and means it's still showing up in my life somewhere, impacting in a manner I'm not seeking to have. Share, where in your life are you still utilizing the construct as an excuse to look at something that has occurred in your life as it was hard, but it was necessary because life is meant to be hard, and without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at in my journey, right? You wouldn't be where you at in your journey, but is it because you're looking at it because it's hard, right? Like my divorce, if I didn't go through that, I don't think I would be where I am today. But I don't say if I didn't go through that awful time in my life, I wouldn't be able to be where I am today. When I was in it, I experienced it as awful. But now I look back and see the beauty in it and see that it just was a part of this journey. Remember, constructs. will hold you back and keep you in a place of judgment, and you will use it as excuses. And yeah, constructs are just no bueno. So pay attention to when you start judging yourself to others. Like, I'm more resilient. My life's been harder. That's a huge red flag for a construct. And again, share with us, because sometimes we don't see the constructs that we're living by until someone else presents it in their own manner. And then we're like, oh crap, that's a construct I still contain as well. And then we got to untie it, because coming from a place of love, there is no construct. As always, thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for tuning in today. And remember, you are worth it, friend. Bye.